Show. My name is Elliot and I'm 11 years old. My weather passion started when Hurricane Irene hit Vermont. I remember that day. It was August 29th, 2011. Before I interview Ms. Wilson, I'm going to have some snowstorm tips. Tip number 1, if you have to drive in a snowstorm, have an emergency weather kit in your car. Flashlight, water, food, and a blanket. And those are some of the few things that you need in your weather kit. And a cell phone, too. If you don't have to drive at all during a snowstorm, ice storm, and any kind of dangerous storm, please don't, and stay off the roads. Please stay tuned into your weather sources for any watches, alerts, warnings, and advisories. For kids, please stay outside and enjoy it. And my mother's favorite is to have a fire in your fire pit. Please welcome Mrs. Wilson, the Bennington-Rutland Supervisory Union Superintendent.
Well, thanks, Elliot. I'm happy to be here with you today as you launch this new exciting program on weather. It's pretty cool.
We are going to ask you some questions right now. The first question is, where do you get your weather sources from?
Well, when a storm is coming, the National Weather Service sends me and all other superintendents and principals. They put together a special report just for us. And it tells us exactly how it's going to impact our area. It tells us all about the warnings. It gives us timing of what we can expect for the weather and when. So that's my primary source, because that's the National Weather Service, and it pulls everything together just for schools and just for Vermont. And then the other place I get, I think, some of my most important information is I go through a whole system starting at 4:45 in the morning. My road crews communicate with us, the road crews from all the towns, and they let us know how their roads are. So they've gone out, they let us know if they've been working on the roads. They say, yep, we think we'll be good in 2 hours, we think you're good now, and we really get a status from them. You know, how are our roads right now, and do you think that by the time we have to run buses, we're going to be good? So that's one of the most important sources of my information that I rely upon, because our area in the BRSU is 450 square miles. So I have very different weather and very different, some of my places. The mountain this morning, when I spoke to Principal McIntyre at 5 o'clock, had 10 inches of snow already. And we had nothing down here.
Next question. What are the factors that determine the snow day?
Well, I mentioned before the road conditions. That's really important. And what the projected weather looks like. So like this morning is a good example. I get sometimes I get some nasty calls from people on days like today, because they're like, what are you doing? Why didn't you cancel school? And I just say, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. We talk to the road crew. We look at the weather. For example, this morning the weather was supposed to be 1 to 2 inches for the entire day. And there was ½ an inch of new snow at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the road crew said the roads were great. So that's how I make my decision.
Question 3. When do you start looking at weather reports to determine if there is a snow day?
If it's a storm, we haven't had I really start the night before or the day before. So I start looking, like for today, I started looking yesterday. And I start talking to my Director of Operations, Greg Harrington. Have you ever met him before?
Nope.
Yeah. So he's connected, he and Derek Chalmers, he's assistant, and they make calls to everybody, and we start talking. And then I connect with them and say, well, I guess I'll be talking to you early in the morning, tomorrow morning. So I usually start the day before. I love when there's a storm. That's an easy one to pick, like you're going to get a big northeaster and you're going to get tons of snow, and it starts in the afternoon and it's going to go, and that's an easy one to call. But we start the day before usually, keeping a good eye on the weather.
Question 4. When is the cutoff time for a half day, delay, or snow day?
Okay, so I have to make the call. I try to make the call by 5:15 in the morning. The absolute cutoff, and I know it sounds early, is 5:30 in the morning. And that's because we have bus drivers coming from different locations. We have teachers that drive from different locations to get to school. And it's mostly, though, when our buses need to know if they're going to be on the road or not. So that starts at 5:30 in the morning. If I'm going to do it, so that's for either calling a delay or for calling school. If I'm going to do a delay, sometimes if we're not sure, we do the 2-hour delay. But then I need to make a closing call by 7 a.m. if I'm going to do that.
Question 5. What determines your decision to close all the schools in your district?
I'm always weighing the safety of the buses on the road. You know, is it safe for us to have our buses on the road? And again, it's back to my biggest decision. The biggest decision factor for me is the information from our road crews and them telling us what the condition of our roads are. And I rely upon that more than anything.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this with me.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it, and now I have to get home and take a nap because I was up so early worrying about snow. Thanks, bye-bye.
Okay, hi. We are going to do an update for winter storm bureaus. First, we are going to start with winter weather advisories for these areas. For winter weather advisories, Vermont. Winter storm warning in Essex County. Winter weather advisories are Addison, Chittenden, Grand Isles, Orleans, Wyndham, Bennington, Essex, Lemuel, Rutland, Caledonia, Franklin, Orange, and Washington. Please enjoy the show and stay safe in any snowstorms. Thank you.